this is a 2023 documentary, almost like a fly on the wall, where Pamela Anderson basically talks about her life, um, from from when she was sort of growing up, to sort of different incidents, things that happened to her in her childhood, and to when she found fame via the means of being a Playboy um, model,
Yes.
to then becoming a featured Playboy um, star. I don't know
Centerfold.
what the names of them. Centerfold.
Centerfold. Centerfold. I mean,
The right
don't ask
terms.
me how I
I
know
think,
that. Just don't think about it
and
to think.
then that transition into television where she was Baywatch, and then how her private life then became more the focus of people's attention than her work,
Yeah.
and how she was, after sort of a number of years, almost like in the wilderness, almost where she sort of disappeared, how she's sort of emerging, um, finding her own, trying to find her own feet, her own place, and moving beyond that sort of stereotype, that picture everyone has of her.
Yeah.
And this is a documentary that's played out using her own photographs and her own home videos. And the one thing she reveals in the documentary is that um, her, when she was married to Tommy Lee, and at other times, she's almost like a compulsive recorder of things. She has always had a video recorder, always has a camera. They're recording constantly. Both everywhere she's been, everyone she's been with, they record, they make videos, and they sort of store these videos, and they have them for years. And she's a diarist. She's kept a diary since her teenage years, and she shared all her diaries. She's kept all the letters that people have sent her. So she's someone who's like she's her own. She's created her own sort of archive almost, where she's got her whole life is recorded in some means or another. And she's sort of shared this quite openly with the documentary makers, and said, I'm just take them and use what you want, because I don't want to read them again. I don't want to relive that moment, but use them. So they've used obviously her own words and her diaries and videos that she's shared with them.
Yeah.
And obviously the elephant in the room is obviously the scandal that arose about how, against her will, she became a sensation for starring in the first viral sex tape.
Celebrity
Uh,
sex tape. Yeah.
Celebrity sex tape, where it was a one that was, again, part of the recordings that her and her husband at the time, Tommy Lee, made, um, that they'd recorded, and they'd labelled them as honeymoon, and they'd put them in a safe. And whilst they were having some building work done, basically that whole safe was stolen. And
Yeah.
they can't identify exactly when it was, because in all the chaos, no one thought to look there, because it held some of her personal documents and some videos, all sorts of strange things. They just put it in this cupboard, this sort of safe lock up thing, and then it disappeared. And then they only knew that it was gone when it emerged that someone was trying to sell it,
Yeah.
and maintains throughout that they obviously she didn't consent to that. It was stolen from her. She had no part of it.
Yeah.
Even when someone
Because
offered to
a
pay
big
her
part of it
for
is
it.
when that was released, people were like they were doing it for the publicity. Like
Yeah,
that they're doing it for the publicity. They're doing it for like they've been paid to release their own sex tape and everything.
yeah. And even though they were offered millions of dollars for it, they declined every offer that they've ever made. So neither of them have made a penny from it. And then what I found more interesting is obviously, there's an element of reflection, because she's a woman in her 50s now, and she's looking back at the choices she's made, those choices and where that has led her. But she's also sort of finding her own identity outside of how she looks, almost like trying to discard in some ways
Yeah.
those preconceptions about what people expect her to be like because of what she's looked like in the past. So
Yeah.
she has consciously decided not to wear, to be made up as when she goes out, and to wear more sort of, liberating clothes, as in not liberating as in exposing her body, but clothes that are comfortable. So that for her is the liberation. It's not about modesty or about liberation. It's about what she feels comfortable in. And
It's not about going out there looking how people want her to look. It's
yeah, it's
about
like
it's
being comfortable in her own skin.
yeah.
And often when a lot of colour, like white and pale colours that are really exposing as well. So that was interesting. And this was filmed obviously 2 years before The Last Showgirl.
Yes.
And you can almost see that as a transition from being the Baywatch, figure, of this sort of almost like doll figure,
Yeah.
how she was offered a role of Roxy to play in Chicago,
On
in
Broadway.
on Broadway, and that you could almost see was almost like a direct pathway from playing that role to playing this film role in The Last Showgirl.
Shelley in the Last
How,
Joker, yeah.
how she learned how to dance, how she sort of put herself out there singing and dancing and having the discipline to do a Broadway show sort of day in, day out for months. So I found it quite fascinating, really. Made me feel really quite, it made me see her in a different way. I think obviously it was
Yeah,
as intended. Find her much more sympathetic than I was expecting. You can see the devastation that having something so private for someone who's like has this sort of shared her body, but that was her choice when she was photographed, and how the different roles she's made. She never felt like she objectified, because in some ways she sort of her mum sort of was with her a lot of these times, and she shared all her decisions, and but how for women there's always the price to pay. There's always a price
yeah,
for some choices, and the fact that there are two people in those videos, and the person who's paid the price for those videos is
is
Pamela
her.
Anderson.
Yeah, and Tommy Lee is just seen as like, oh, what a dude, stud.
Yeah, it's just for him. It's just like, hey, it's just whatever. But for her, you can see that's utterly that sort of objectification is utterly devastating,
Yeah,
and then
because
it's
yeah,
taken a long journey to sort of reclaim herself and her own image.
yeah. I think it's quite because she made this in response to the TV show Pam and
Yeah,
Tommy, which was
yeah,
released, and which features like the release of Pam and Tommy is part of this documentary. Like
yeah.
you see her reaction when it goes out live for the first time, which is having a chat with one of her sons who's watching the show and telling her how she and Tommy Lee are portrayed in it, and I quite like the through line between Pam and Tommy to this being made, and as you say, to The Last Showgirl. Because when I
Yeah.
first heard about The Last Showgirl, I was like, somebody watched this documentary and thought, yes.
I can
and
do this. Yeah.
yeah, and I don't know for sure that Gia Coppola, who directed The Last Showgirl, watched this documentary, but I'm almost certain she did. I'm almost certain that she watched this documentary and she
He's a
thought
shame. That
that's
shame.
yeah, she thought that's our Shelley. That's who we're casting in that film as Shelley.
Yeah.
So how many stars would you give Pamela Anderson? A Love Story. That's what it's called.
I
It's
love
called
Tori.
Pamela, A Love Story.
Yeah, learning to love herself again.
Yeah.
I would say I would give it a definite four, I think. I think the only thing I would sort of hesitate is you don't, because something that looks so open and honest makes you think, is it really? Or are you just telling me? Are you just am I just being sold a pup and I bought it? But I feel it felt genuine to me, and it felt honest and it felt real. So I'd certainly give it a definite four. And so I just hesitate five because of my own cynicism. But I would
Yeah,
think I would say it was a definite four.
yeah, because she is pretty much the only person in it. Like
Yeah,
it's not as if they go, Ron, let's go back to your childhood and find that person who you pushed over in a playground once. She's the
yeah,
only person in it. So it has her total cooperation. So that does
yeah.
make that. But the fact that nobody has come out and said no, she's a liar, she's a total. Since that makes me
Yeah.
think, yeah. And with that, Holly, quickly, Last Showgirl, you saw that. What did you think?
Really liked it. I thought it was an absolutely beautiful film.
Yeah,
Made me cry. Um, I thought it was very, very well put together. Really, really well done. Pamela Anderson was superb. Jamie Lee Curtis was superb, and I was very struck at points in it how much. Why is my mind going blank as to her name?
Karen
Um,
Shipka,
no, though
Brenda
she was
Song.
also excellent. Also excellent in it. No, who plays the daughter? Why is my
Oh,
mind
Billy
going blank?
Lord, Carrie Fisher's
Billy
daughter.
Lord. Yes, I was really struck at times by how much Billy Lord looked like her mother.
Yeah.
Particularly towards the end, it was really, really uncanny. Though shouldn't be a surprise given she's her mother. Um, but I
Yeah,
thought she
yeah.
was very. I thought the cast were all superb. So yeah, I was very
I'm liking the career that Billy Lord is building for herself. Some like really sort of like cookie offbeat roles. All right, cool, good stuff. I also went to the